And welcome back, everyone. It's the week of What If, and we have our one shot today from Shadow King, who asked the question. And I think you added a fourth verse in this, but it's a verse that I just don't know enough to include in this What If, so I took them out. What if both Bleach, Jojo, and the DC Universe were a part of the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Z? Now, obviously, caveats have to be made here. One, in Bleach, all the characters would have Zanpakuto. Weapons aren't allowed, and we're not going to make an exception on that. But otherwise, unless the character doesn't have a weapon, we can use any character theoretically for any verse. Now, to give each universe the best chance, I do think we can just say you can take it from any point in time in the verse, because we have no idea what time frame they'd be taking a character from JoJo or DC or Bleach, particularly in Bleach, because you could have the Soul King at the very beginning, and then he dies, and you have the shit stuff and don't come into much later. I think to be fair to, say, these types of universes, we can go as far as we can. Now, who would be the 10 people on the team? That's the question. With DC, I think we can generally be it's not that hard to figure it out. You'd have Superman on the team, that's a given. Darkseid, I think, has to be on the team. I think the Batman Who Laughs would have to be on the team. You'd have to get some of your big, either multiversal heavy hitters, or at minimum, you'd have to get some of your big universal hitters. Wonder Woman would be on the team, probably. Flash, for just sheer speed, would have to be on the team. Maybe Martian Manhunter for sheer telekinetics. In terms of multiverse, like World Forger, maybe. I don't know if you can let Batman be a part of there without a batsuit. And I don't know if a batsuit would count as like a weapon, so I don't know if you can do that. No, likewise, I don't know if you can include a Lantern on the team for that very reason as well. So who else could we maybe do? I don't know, throw Lobo on there. Unfortunately, the big heavy hitter, like multiversal individuals, not as many of them as I can remember, as opposed to say something like in Marvel, which I've got a bit more knowledge on that lore. Actually, it's a very good question. And who else would I put? I don't know, maybe throw Superboy Prime on there. Okay, so that's that lot. Now, the catch is, too, they did disable flight. So unless you had a natural ability, say, with, wings, you can't fly. That would include Superman as well. He manipulates gravitons to fly, whereas others manipulate their ki to fly. Superman can't fly. So anyone who's got flying abilities, there you go. I'm going to tell you right now, right quick here. The JoJo verse is going to be the first one of these three out. And it's not because they don't have some really strong hacks. They do. Star Platinum, Zoworldo, Gold Requiem, what was it? Ultimate Cars. Cars is another one who I've done in verses before, and a couple other stand users as well. All have some hacks abilities to some, particularly a Requiem. Actually, Gold Requiem might be the hardest one to deal with, just because it can literally manipulate life, reset things to a certain degree. But the problem here is on a versal scale, every single individual here is just way stronger. Not every individual in, say, the Dragon Ball verse who participate in the Tournament of Power, but if we're looking at the top tier individuals, oh yeah, there's multiversal plus individuals in the Tournament of Power. We know Goku is multiversal plus. We know Jiren is multiversal plus. We know Toppo is a God of Destruction candidate. Vegeta is multiversal plus. Hit's got time manipulation abilities. Annie Raza was arguably on that level. Kale and Kepler are on that level. Despite the fact that there's a lot of lesser powered individuals, there are certainly individuals who are on that level of power of multiversal plus. There is no one in God's Green Earth in JoJo that is that powerful. Even if you factored in the hacks like Time Stops with Star Platinum or Zoworldo, it's the world, but Zoworldo! You have characters in Dragon Ball alone who can move, who are so powerful they can move through time stops. So, and we know Flash can do that. We know, he can move so fast that he literally manipulates time. And then you got Superman, so who can also, there has now some level of time manipulation. So I just don't think the JoJo verse. First off, the JoJo verse does not have the speed to keep up with a lot of these guys who move well faster than light. So they're going out in general. Plus, they're all, for all it's worth, the only real superpowered individuals here would be cars. And really, that'd be someone like Superman's job, just poof, make sure to get him out of the ring quick. Or Flash to just, zoom, boom, temporarily kill. Which, yeah, you can kill in this battle, too. You can kill people. That's allowed. At least I believe it's allowed, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Now that I'm thinking, it's because it's been so long since I've talked about Tournament. I can't remember. No, that's right. You can't kill individuals. If you can die by your own hand by mistake. That's why Goku's knockout was argued for a second, but he said nope, it was the only technique they did it. Okay, so you can't kill anybody here, but that's still, again, squishy humans and people moving well beyond light speeds. They're not going to be able to keep up. Even with stands that can arguably move as fast, if not faster, because the time stops, all that. It's just they're not going to be. They're going to be the first of these three out. So it's kind of irrelevant. Plus, I don't know Jojo as well as other people do, so I can only think of like Dio, Jojo himself. Again, Cars, the individual would start with Requiem. Silver Chariot's got some light-based abilities, but yeah. Bleach is the interesting one because it's the one. DC and Bleach are going to be a lot more harder for the DC crowd to really, or DC Dragon Ball crowd to knock out of here because they do also have multiversal level individuals. Now, because you can't use a Zanpakuto in this match, I now have to be a bit more conscious of who we're putting into this fight. If we're allowing ourselves, which I am, to take from every point in time in the Bleach universe, you'd have to add the Soul King on there. Soul King's going to be your ace in the hole. Yuaba. I think there's no, even though there's no B, I think it's pronounced Yuaba. Yuaba would be in there. Technically speaking, you could add all four of the shoot stuff, and even though two of them are individuals with Soul King abilities, they're still taken from the timeline. Okay, great. You'd have to throw Yamamoto. Even without his Zanpakuto, Yamamoto is still busted. Ichibe, still busted. Aizen, busted. And I guess Ichigo, although, again, without Zangetsu on there, I mean, it'd be difficult for Ichigo to really do much. He doesn't know any Kido, so... I mean, I'm trying to think of who else would be a good candidate without a Zanpakuto, because, again, I can't include a Zanpakuto with this. I guess Uryu with the antithesis, too, so, honestly, you're having a bulk Quincy team with a couple of heavy hitter Shinigamis as well. That means you have Uryu, who's able to create weapons, which is allowed. We saw that one character from the fourth universe be allowed to do that. So that should be fine. With the antithesis to basically swap causalities. You have Yamamoto, who is just living a card. Even his Ryatsu is like fire. Plus, it has knowledge of nearly every Kido, if not every Kido. Master of Hakudo. No, so that's great. Aizen, he's fused with Kyoka Suigetsu. That's a big one. He's basically nigh immortal. In Massive Regeneration, Master of Kido. Ryatsu is so strong it's comparable to at least the sealed or the remaining part of the Soul King. Ichibe, who's also knows every Kido, speed, name manipulation. Even without Ichimonji, he can still, his name carries weight. You will actually lose your power, like voice, and lose some power if you call his name too many times. And he can still resurrect just by taking someone's power and by saying their name. What I got? What are you eyes on? That's 3, 4. No, Yuaba, who has. Maybe I can use Soul King Yuaba, who has all the excess power, the remaining power of the Soul King, plus every shrift he threw out there, and the Almighty, which can let you choose the future you want to happen. And then you have Lily Barrow, who has the X-axis, except that's questionable because we know that's a weapon he creates. It's not a weapon he can just create it. His gun. And that's their thing. You couldn't use Jugeram either because he's not, as far as we know, he's not creating. I mean, maybe he creates that shield. I don't know for certain. He couldn't have his sword, so you are weakening, say, Lily Barrow, but Lily Barrow would just go into his Volstagg and there you go. He'd be intangible, be kind of wrecking the battlefield and wrecking shop on the battlefield. You'd have the miracle with Gerard, so unless you can destroy the medallion, and dear God, you have the death dealing with Askin, which is nuts. Making him nigh immortal and then lethal dosage. You've got Pernida with a compulsionary, and then you have the true peak Soul King, who is multiversal plus because the little shed, like his power alone was able to create 3 separate universes, and even the hollowed out remains of him are powerful enough to be a linchpin for a multiverse. Not to mention he has every single power listed here, and is frankly strong, as far as we can know, far stronger than even Yuaba is, because he had a 4-pupiled Almighty rather than a 3-pupiled Almighty. So for whatever reason, his Almighty trumps Yuaba. We don't know for certain. I do have a whole video on the theory of what the Soul King's, how powerful he really is. But yeah, so, okay. Now we got that down and out. Who is coming out? Do these guys change the battlefield? One last thing we need to bring up for Superman is the fact that there is no yellow sun in the World of the Void. Not the World of the Void, but I can't remember what exactly. There's no yellow sun here. There is that one sun-like looking light, but for as best as we can tell, it's not an actual sun. It's not giving solar radiation. So Superman has no way to get stronger, which means he will eventually tire out and lose his energy if he's not careful. But Superman is well aware of this. But because he can't go all out to the point he can kill someone, which he wouldn't want to do anyway, it does limit him on some level. Add on to the fact that when if we're dealing with the problem hitters on each team, Darkseid's going to be a problem because he's got the Omega Sanction, or the Omega Force. Superman's a problem because he's freaking Superman. The Flash is a problem because of his speed. Martian Manhunter is a problem because of his telepathy more than anything else. And then you get other individuals here who are problematic, but I just don't think maybe if they throw in a Mazo droid in there, maybe that's problematic, but I feel like that Mazo goes down hard before anything else. So the immediate question is, and then everyone's a heavy hitter on Bleach, but some are heavier hitters than others. I think the immediate game plan is Martian Manhunter susses out what the abilities of everyone is. Now the question of that is, can anyone figure out that their minds are being read? Can they notice the different feeling of a presence in their mind? I think if anyone is capable of doing that, it would be the Soul King itself. It would be Ichibe because of Yuaba and Aizen. Just because they're that intelligent to figure it out, which means at least Aizen or it'd probably be Aizen and or Yuaba who take care of Martian Manhunter. And because Martian Manhunter's probably going to have to go fast. Then the Flash is going to be an immediate problem because his speed's going to try to push people out of the ring. The problem is, even though they can't fly, they have the ability to harden energy on their feet, which is is not the ability to fly, which means they can do that and basically not really be out of the ring as long as they're not too far out of the ring. So maybe someone say who would be the most likely candidate to get knocked out first? I could see either Yamamoto. The Flash would probably aim for the one that he deems either the most troublesome or the one that's going to get him the most trouble. And he tried to knock out either the Soul King or Yuaba or Aizen first. The problem is, with the Almighty, he could just say, trip, boom. And basically, I chose the future where you tripped and fell out of the ring. Bye. He's literally got nothing to do. He can't fight against that. The immediate problems for, frankly, everyone in this tournament is dealing with the Almighties. The Almighties are the biggest problem. And obviously, things like the X-axis, death dealing is actually going to be a big problem. I could see Askin taking some hits from someone bleeding and then just drinking enough blood to just create the lethal doses of blood and just walk around. And the minute someone like Superman gets close, he just starts coughing up blood. Yeah, he could probably take him out of the ring, but he might have to actually suicide run that because Askin's no, I'm sorry, buddy. And just Reishi's him in the back. She's yep, sorry, if I'm going, you're going with me. Toxic, whatever. Unfortunately, he doesn't know how to create kryptonite. Otherwise, Superman might actually be screwed there. And then obviously the compulsionary, Pernida, who we actually have a video coming up for that in a little bit with the who wins, with the compulsory, because he's able to shoot his nerves and just, control advancement. And then, manipulate someone's body that could easily just, could arguably turn people into pulps, but understanding that he can't kill anyone, maybe just like kneecap him and basically just knock him out of the ring. As strong as Superman is a broken character. Without the Yellow Sun and without the ability to actually kill someone in a fight, and with individuals who can see and change the future, like just by on a whim, just like that. Superman has fought individuals who can manipulate time on multiple occasions. Hell, even Destiny of the Endless says Superman is an anomaly. Like, he can't be affected by a reality erasure, which I think is stupid, but whatever. He's a linchpin for his world, so he can't be erased from, like, existence. To be fair, he's out of his universe now, so in theory that could work. But more than to the point, and then you have, like, Cosmic Armor Superman, who I suppose we could use in this, but that's a very particular Superman that I don't know if we could bring into this fight. If I brought Cosmic Armor Superman in, it would be a different scenario. Because the only difference between him and really what Yuaba and the Soul King can do with the Almighty is the fact that he's also fourth wall aware, which they're not. Which I do think does put him, to a degree, over them. But only to a degree. But without that, Superman actually doesn't have a real good answer for the Almighty. Just inherently. If anything, they can literally just create matter or whatever and just create kryptonite to just weaken Superman. They really could do that. Like, the Soul King literally can create anything from nothingness, more or less. Because he has the power of stillness, which can put a stopper on anything. From, I believe, the left arm. The right arm is Pernida. He's got the heart of these. Basically, he's got the ability to create miracles and just affect probability and all that with the heart of the Soul King, which is what the miracle is. Obviously, he has the Almighty as well. Not to mention, it's very possible he theoretically has access to every shrift there is also, because he is the father of Quincy's. So, in theory, he could manifest any ability that they have, in theory. And we know Yuaba, with all of those abilities, should be able to, as the Soul King, should be able to do that as well. Which means with the Visionary, he can also gaze into the minds of individuals. Now, Superman does have mental blocks, so that would probably protect him. Darkseid's and Mega Sanctions Mega Beam is dangerous, but without the ability to kill, it's actually not that dangerous. I mean, yeah, it could theoretically teleport someone out of the ring, and maybe it does that to some fighters. But then he's got to contend not just with the Bleach cast, but with the Dragon Ball cast as well. So, who comes out on top in all of this at the end of the day? I think when it breaks down, if you're looking at the heaviest hitters on each side, again, Jojo Sally isn't going to last in this fight. You're going to have Goku, Vegeta, I think still see 17 and Gohan sticking around for at least a little bit longer. But you're going to have those guys. On Universe 9 side, you're going to have Jiren, Topo, Dispo. On Bleach's side, you'll have Aizen, who also has Kyoka Suigetsu, which can infect everyone's senses on the battlefield. Like, it's insane. And it's not like just like, well, someone can just see through that. No, you can't. It's literally the manipulation of your senses. Like, even if you know you're in an illusion and theoretically can see past it, the illusion could just, any one of the illusions could just immediately snap back in. It's why I didn't buy the argument that Madara could just see through it in their fight in Death Battles, because it's not a genjutsu. It's literally the controlling of your senses. So even if the illusion's gone, it's like, I'm still controlling your senses. So that already is going to screw up everyone else here. That's not, on their side. But I see Aizen still being there. I actually don't see Ichibei or Yamamoto still being there. As strong as they are, without their Zanpakuto toes, they are actually at a big disadvantage, especially without Ichimonji. With Ichimonji on his side, Ichibei in theory could clear this entire tournament just by getting ink on people. But Aizen, so yeah, Yamamoto and Ichibei, but Aizen would still be around. Soul King's definitely still around. Yuaba's definitely still around. Honestly, that could be it. That could be it. I do still see like all the other like Sturmers, Shinigami, all that putting in their work, but I think those are your big three, and would no it would make sense that the big three are, the Soul King-esque characters. And then the remaining on the DC side would be Superman, would be Darkseid. If you throw the Batman last in there, probably, at least when he became multiversal. But yeah, and then if you're just squaring those guys up on the sheer like power output scale, Jiren is the strongest one there. Well, that's actually debatable. Technically, Soul King's the strongest one there because he literally holds the fabric of a multiverse together just by existing. Whereas Jiren can threaten a multiverse with his power, but just by existing, the Soul King holds a multiverse together. Not a huge multiverse, mind you, but a multiverse nonetheless. We don't know how many other verses exist, dimensions exist outside of the three main ones plus Hell, which is actually separate from the main universe. It actually existed alongside the main universe in the beginning. So, and again, before anyone says, this is not me glazing Bleach. This is me looking at the facts in front of me about these characters at their peaks. So if you think I'm glazing Bleach, well, sorry if you think that. Superman and Darkseid are probably going to be bigger threats on some level than say the Z fighters, especially Superman. But as this fight has gone on, Superman would also be tiring out too. The longer this fight goes on, the worse it's actually going to be for Superman because he can't recharge here. He just can't do it. So in fact, if anything, Superman is actually going to be, the longer this fight goes on, the worse it's going to be. And Superman, and say Kyoka Suigetsu controlling Superman, that's not good. That is not good. Even with supervision, it doesn't mean his senses are impervious. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Superman's senses have been controlled on several occasions. Hell, Superman's been brainwashed before. Again, different scenario here, but still. Hell, if Darkseid is able to figure, Yoba or Soul King are able to figure out, this is what he's weak to. Again, especially with the Visionary, can just pop out Kryptonite. There you go. I can pop out Darkseid's version of it, which I think is called Radium. So yeah, in theory, Bleach would arguably take this. In theory. Again, on a sheer power output scale, Jiren might have the strongest output power, save for maybe the Soul King himself. But again, I think it just comes down to the level of power, which again, our remaining three here, Aizen, Yoba, and Soul King are all multiversal plus at least. And two of them have the Almighty. Look, I'm a huge fan of Bleach. It's my favorite of the big three shonens. And Dragon Ball's universe is still a higher tier universe, but when you get relative multiversal individuals, at least in that world, throw them in there from other worlds, and you give them hacks that the characters in that world aren't accustomed to, I would actually argue Bleach might come out on top here. If it's not Bleach, though, I think DC would probably lose a lot of wind in the fight, because immediately the Flash's speed, even before he knocks someone out, I think or the minute he knocks his first person out, when they see the speed, the Almighties are going to be like, oh, he's fast, he's faster than us, bye. And before anyone says, but the Speed Force, well, then he's exiting the ring, then, isn't he? If he's exiting the ring, then he's out. Like, you're going into a separate dimension. Sorry, that's probably a disqualification. So yeah, I can't do that. And even with all that speed, like, sorry, then Almighty trip, whatever. And even still, it might be an extra dimension, but it's just a single dimension. Both the three big guys here can control multi-dimensional planes. So actually, the Flash probably is in trouble in this scenario, especially in a scenario where everyone is looking at everyone. And again, theoretically, the Almighty could end this fight really quick. Could basically just end the fight saying, "Oh, well, you're doing this. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not." Look, as much as I don't want to sound like again, the term is glazing now. As much as I don't want to sound like I'm glazing Bleach, like I'm putting them on the pedestal as like this god tier thing, because of the way it plays out in a person tournament fight to the bitter end kind of thing, with no Yellow Sun for Kylo to get charged by, and Darkseid's Omega Beams being, as frankly most individuals in this tournament are fast enough to dodge those Omega Beams. Well, most of the high level individuals anyway. And again, they can negate damage and threats to them. So even if the Omega Beams came their way, he could just be like, oh, interesting. It's like, what? It's dancing around him. What? Oh, here, you can have him back. They hits him in the back. Like teleports him outside the ring by mistake. That's legit, because that's another thing the Omega Beams can do. They can teleport individuals into places. So they eventually might see the Omega Beams just zapping people out of the ring. So when the Omega Beams come their way, using the Almighty, just like, oh, and then they hit Darkseid and that can take him out of the ring. That's a legitimate thing. Or Superman out of the ring. That's a legitimate thing that could happen. So, yeah, it's weird to say, but Bleach might, mind you, come out on top in this scenario, even without Zanpakuto involved. Just because the heaviest hitters of Bleach have so much hacks behind them as well, not just power, that it might be enough to shake up even powerful individuals like a Superman or a Darkseid or Jiren or Goku, Ultra Instinct. Anyway, I'm sure I'm going to get someone saying, oh, your favoritism. Whatever. Till then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. See you next time.